Electrocast.
From sauce, dust, to nuggets. It's Taco Bell's new Diablo Dusted Crispy Chicken Nuggets. Are they mild? If they were mild, we'd have to change the name to Little Rascal Nuggets or Minor Nuisance Nuggets. Definitely Diablo. New Diablo Dusted Crispy Chicken Nuggets. A brand new classic. Only at Taco Bell. Picture being down! At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time and while supplies last.
Experience a membership that backs your business journey with American Express Business Platinum. When you pay with membership rewards points for all or part of an eligible flight booked with a qualifying airline through Amex Travel, you can get 35% of those points back, up to 1 million points back per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Western demands.
Now this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or Whatever Movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris and I'm here with my older brother
Wesley, and today we are discussing a movie from 2006, the 20th anniversary of one of Iris's favorite films, a goddamn bitch of an unsatisfactory situation.
BROKEBACK Mountain.
Iris, how in this day and age do we talk about BROKEBACK Mountain? Oh, I know, interview style.
A main episode version of interview style?
Yep. Why? First question, why do you want to talk about BROKEBACK Mountain?
I get into these phases where I do these movie deep dives. They're usually adaptations. I read the short story by Annie Proulx, but not in the close range short story collection. I think her Pulitzer Prize winning short story collection, but rather in the story to screen BROKEBACK Mountain book that includes the original short story, the screenplay, and notes from the filmmakers and the various authors, which was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool experience. And then, of course, I watched the movie because it's kind of a game changer.
Well, I mean, it's not like it won Best Picture or anything.
Is that a joke?
One of the biggest upsets in modern movie history. Lost to Crash.
So you think that BROKEBACK Mountain was deserving of winning Best Picture?
Absolutely. Everybody was nominated. Ang Lee won for Best Director, and it is pretty unusual. Actually, maybe it's not unusual, but it should be. It definitely was that a person would win Best Director, but that movie would not win Best Picture. Mm-hmm. Seems to happen more and more these days. Yeah.
It's almost like the awards are divvied up.
Have you watched BROKEBACK Mountain more with subtitles than without?
2005.
Is it? I thought it was 2006. This is the 20th anniversary.
Because it won all of its awards and accolades in 2006.
Aha.
I'm trying to think where I was. I highly doubt that I saw BROKEBACK Mountain in the theaters. I was 26, maybe. I was in grad school, probably broke.
Dude, you're old.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, probably more with subtitles because maybe almost exclusively in a home video setting.
You know, strangely, this one is now close to the top of my list for movies that I did not expect would need subtitles. Hugely benefited from it.
Seems obvious with Heath Ledger's mumbling. I mean, he swallows almost every word.
Yep.
As Ennis Del Mar.
But more, and on that note, Kelly Ray's first time watching BROKEBACK Mountain requested that I turn the subtitles on because she said, I don't understand anything anyone is saying. And he said, Jack Twist, pleased to meet you. And he was like, Ennis. He's like, your folks just stop at Ennis? He's like, Del Mar. And Kelly went, his name is Anus Del Mar. And then later he's talking to Jack. And he's like, me and Elma are going to get married when I come down off the mountain. And she's like, who the hell is Elmo?
Anus and Elmo? Oh. First time, really? I can't believe it. But I'm happy to have prompted Kelly Ray's first experience with this exceptional film.
Exceptional. Talk about it.
I return to Brokeback Mountain myself in this kind of pilgrimage every couple years. It's got a hold of me. It's simple on its surface, but there's so much going on under the surface. Not only within characters like Ennis Del Mar, but in the relationships that exist. So much that's left unsaid. It's really a heartbreaking tale, and for some reason, that's in an emotional state that I want to and feel like I need to revisit every now and then. I feel after watching Brokeback Mountain like I do after Last of the Mohicans. It's just an emotional experience.
Is Brokeback Mountain one that you wish you knew how to quit?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's a strange other experience. I was thinking this couldn't be further from my experience. And yet I'm so profoundly moved by it because it's human and it's sad, but because it is about, in a weird, universally romantic way, it's about true love, even if it is forbidden.
But not just forbidden because of social taboos. I get it. And it seems like the filmmakers and the cast were forever defending this film and themselves against this film. A little bit of an uphill battle. Get it? Get it?
Up the mountain?
Yeah, but in particular, Heath Ledger said that it was one of the most beautiful love stories he'd ever read. And I wonder if you think that is in defense mode. Is the love story between Ennis and Jack beautiful, or is it painfully tragic? A lot of people get hurt and people get dead, spoiler, and it unfolds over 20 years, but Ennis says to his face, "You're the reason I'm like this, Jack. I'm nothing. I'm nowhere." Jeez. Is it beautiful, or is it gut-wrenching at every turn 2 or 3 times a year for nearly 20 years on a short leash?
It's both. First of all, the cinematography is stunning, and the fact that their relationship blooms in this incredible backdrop, it just feels idyllic. If only they could exist, kind of solely on the mountain. And they don't feel like sadists or martyrs. They really feel like men bound by this impossible love. I don't feel like they're doing it to be dramatic or to bring trouble into their lives. It's something that happened to both of them, that got hold of both of them, but it just doesn't work.
I wonder if this love and this connection that they share is wasted on these two dudes, on dudes in general. Ennis and Jack, as individual specimens of dudes, can't really get it together. Ennis is so tied up in knots and so repressed. He acts out and he's violent and he almost hits Elma. He is the worst communicator. He bungs it up with Elma and with what's her name? With Linda Cardellini. Bungles. He bungholes it up. Jack is floundering or whatever, and his marriage can be done over the phone. Elma and Lorene, they don't really deserve it. Like, Anne Hathaway seems kind of cold, and she's got her daddy, and she's crunching numbers, and her eyes keep getting smaller. But she's forward. She hits on him, but doesn't deserve to be lied to. Elma is long-suffering, and even still is like, isn't you, when she knows what's up, isn't your friend going to come in for a drink? And doesn't outright vilify him until long after their divorce, when she's frustrated because Ennis can't get it together. It seems like it was unlucky that this connection was forged by two people, neither of which seemed really capable of handling it in the right way, if there is a right way. No reins on this one.
So many little Easter egg quotes. I say to the girls all the time, just because we're adults doesn't mean we've got it together. And also just because these are two adults that can't seem to get it together doesn't mean that they're undeserving of love or that it's necessarily wasted on them. Although I get what you're saying. Like, this could be an epic love story of not grand proportions, of simple, quiet proportions on a ranch somewhere up near, what was it called? Jackson Flat? Or where was Jack Twist from? Lightning Flat? And yet it isn't. After having done my deep dive, there was a line that stuck out to me that never stuck out before. And it's really early on when they get to the mountain and they're at camp and Ennis is cleaning up and Jack's like, done with beans or something like that. And then Ennis says something like, beans are okay with me. And it was such a subtle but strong contrast of these two characters, that Ennis is willing to settle for scraps and Jack rails against that his entire life and obviously wants so much more than just the scraps of Ennis. This further conflict really sustains the film. It's, it seems like Jack Twist and his railing against the confines of his life, they don't necessarily get him any farther than Ennis.
And as a matter of fact, Ennis ultimately takes maybe the best lesson, which is that sometimes you just have to let go. And he said, all I have time now is for making a living. And I think the implication it goes towards his family and particularly towards child support after he and Alma got divorced. But he says, hell with that foreman or whatever, my daughter's getting married. And he makes that turn and isn't just going to be the guy who disappears. And that's in the last scene of the movie. And Junior goes off all satisfied and her boyfriend's fiance's Camaro. And that's really the arc of Ennis.
Yeah, that smile from the impossibly young Kate Mara. It's everything and gives me some hope for Ennis, even though, the final scene is in his sparsely furnished trailer, looking back, looking to his past, looking at the skins within the skins, the two shirts, as Annie calls them, and the postcard of Brokeback Mountain.
Aw, that's beautiful. And by impossibly young, you mean impossibly young Alma Jr., because Kate Mara was 4 years younger than impossibly young Heath Ledger, who played her dad.
Oh, really?
Yep.
On the HD Blu-ray that I watched this, you can see the makeup around Heath Ledger's eyes, trying to make the impossibly young Heath Ledger have crow's feet.
So you didn't steal my DVD? Because I went looking for it and I couldn't find it at Mom's house. You watched it on Blu-ray.
Yep, from the library. Come on, Wes.
But I did notice, so good was Ennis's or Heath Ledger's scene where he finally breaks down and sobs in Jack's arms and stuff. So good was that scene, was that take, that Ang Lee let it go. He's like, well, the sideburns are coming off a little bit, but we're going with that take because that's the best one. I never would have noticed if it wasn't for ultra high def.
Oh, man. I didn't notice, but Jack is so mad at him. And he's so mad at himself and the world. And as not together as he has it, he has enough in his reservoir to comfort Ennis in that moment. It's so sad.
Very sad, and there's just nothing to do about it. He says he's gonna he said, I'm gonna head up to Lightning Flat or whatever, see my parents for a couple of days. And then Ennis finally breaks down, and then they spend, it looks like, the next couple of days hanging out.
Are we talking about the same scene when Ennis tells him that he can't meet again until August?
Yes. That's also the scene of the missing mustache.
Well, wait a second. Are you joking, or do you not realize that that's flashback?
Is it?
It is. It's absolutely flashback.
Ennis is wearing the same coat, and I guess that's true to form for Ennis. Okay, yeah, fine. No. Look who's paying attention.
Well, I never knew. I never realized it was a flashback until I read the story. And it's a flashback in the story, and it's a flashback in the script. And it's not clear, but it doesn't necessarily need to be, right? It's supposed to be a time where the love is pure because they're not looking at each other. Like, there's this symbolism in the way that they're holding each other, that they could be anybody, and their love is real and pure because it's not embodied by these forbidden containers, kind of a thing. I think that's what it's supposed to mean. And so whether it is a memory or a dream or the next night, I think is kind of irrelevant as long as that message gets through.
Man, that is deep, bruh.
Do you just say that because you can't handle the grave emotionality of this film?
No, I think you're putting a lot on it, and definitely that stuff is there. But they were, as he said, my daddy always said that the rodeo riders was all fuck-ups. And he's like, the hell they are. And it's like, well, you kind of are. Like what?
He proceeds to prove his point.
Jack would have been in exactly the same situation if he were not married to Lorene and Lorene's dad and Lorene's dad's money.
He would be in exactly the same situation as Ennis, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, he happens upon what may be considered a more comfortable life. They go out to dinner and they have fancy Thanksgiving meals that he can provide, whereas Ennis is like a guest in his own, in his own family gathering. But yeah, it's a little bit like you can't take what is it? You can take the ranch hand out of the ranch, but you can't take, what is it saying?
There's no part of that expression existed before this conversation. You can take the boy out of Texas or whatever. You can't take the Texas out of the boy, or the ranch hand out of the ranch. You can't take the ranch out of the ranch hand. But it's awkward because they both contain ranch. Ranch. That sounds good.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Amazon presents Jeff versus Taco Truck Salsa. Whether it's Verde, Roja, or the orange one. For Jeff, trying any salsa is like playing Russian roulette with a flamethrower. Luckily, Jeff saved with Amazon and stocked up on antacids, ginger tea, and milk. Habanero? More like habanero, yes. Save the everyday with Amazon.
Just like regardless of his money, right? Jack Twist is going to be Jack Twist.
But you can see it in that those luxurious mustaches and sideburns. That all the fashion looks the same, whether it's all like stiff denim, whether rich or poor or whatever. You just kind of got to gauge it by the evolution of Jack's pickup trucks. And Lorene's hairstyles.
And Lorene's hair, yeah,
which was the worst, by the way. But overall, not a bad hair movie, just a bad sideburns movie.
Yeah?
Every time I was like, oh, thank goodness they got rid of the sideburns for this one.
They don't have crazy sideburns when they're young. It's just when they get older, right? In the 70s and stuff.
It's meant to age them up. And of course, now at least Jake Gyllenhaal is older than Jack Twist. And we can see how differently he aged.
So you know how I feel about Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, opposite of the way I feel.
One of the most underrated actors of our time. He's incredible in this film, perfectly cast. How better to communicate this sorrow than through Jake Gyllenhaal's Baby Blues?
Easy answer. And that's Ennis Del Mar's squinty Baby Browns. This was the phase where I was still annoyed at Jake Gyllenhaal. He was still like a cartoon character, and he was all bubble boy. But I can see it now, and I really like who he's become, and I enjoy watching him. But at the time, I was kind of annoyed when he does those crazy Sampaku eyes rodeo thing where he's like, yeah, woo, and like jumping around and stuff. He annoys me. But I came around on Jake. He aged into his face.
It's funny. I think there was a Roadhouse. That was the Patrick Swayze reboot that he did, right?
Yes, our discussion on which is available at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts.
He said in an interview about that movie that people have a certain expectation of what a Jake Gyllenhaal movie is, which I took to mean Roadhouse and action movies is what we expect of Jake Gyllenhaal, which I disagree with. If that's what he meant, I disagree with it. What?
Scary emo. That's the Jake Gyllenhaal movie. Is Nightcrawler. Is Zodiac.
Yeah, and BROKEBACK Mountain. It's a wonder that neither of them won for this.
No, it was too taboo at the time, dude. I bought this movie, I watched it, I really wanted it to win, and I was like, crash.
Huh.
I went and saw the Hulk because of this movie.
Ang Lee's the Hulk? That's funny. But I guess really when Heath Ledger won for Joker, not that performance was undeserving, but he really won for both and for his tragic death.
I hate to think that factored into it, but I also was not a Heath Ledger fan before this movie. This movie completely sold and turned me. I was like, the Knight's Tale guy? Wasn't he like in 10 rules
Things I hate
about you
about
something?
you.
I don't care, dude.
Yeah,
It's
all
like an
buff and
Australian
blonde.
guy, and he's a good-looking guy or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. And then he was the champion of this movie, of this role. He wasn't taking any crap from anybody. He wouldn't make jokes about it. They wanted to do gay Brokeback jokes like at the Oscars, and he was like, no. All the Q&As, everybody, gay cowboy movie. And he was like, I got nothing funny to say about this. Like, this is, he wasn't super defensive. He was just kind of sad that the way that it was portrayed, and was like steadfast the whole time about saying that, he would always reiterate that it was just so beautiful and something that he really wanted to be a part of.
You're saying it was taboo. Was it shocking to you?
No, it wasn't shocking. It was a very high profile movie that made it very far, that I'm not sure that people were ready for, to be like, this gets my vote for Best Picture over a safer ensemble piece like Crash.
Yeah, it's easy to joke about because of the taboo and because it's an easy way to deflect how deeply emotional it is. I mean, the way that the authors talk about the public response was in receiving countless letters from people saying, this is my story.
I mean, sure, and I think that that's what the filmmakers had intended. Specifically, Heath Ledger said that he wanted to see people reacting in that way, people could identify with it, or were glad that it existed in a non-compromised way, or a way that would have made it safer or more accessible. Massive hit. I read somewhere that the extremely limited budget, almost nothing, like I think Sheep must have been half the budget of this movie, because all the trucks in Texas and all the uniform, all the clothes still look exactly like that in the 90s as they did in the 60s. So that didn't require period adjustment. I think they were like, okay, we got like 10 million for the production and the cast and 10 million for the sheep. Let's go shoot it.
with Canadian tax incentives.
But a massive hit. So in that way, nobody seems to have expected what it was or what it could become. And in that way, it was really well received.
Did Brokeback Mountain also give you Michelle Williams?
I don't recall, because I never watched Dawson's Creek, but I know that she came up in a big way, and I really admired her in this. She seems kind of fearless. I also, probably Blue Valentine, a little bit later, was where I felt like I truly discovered her, but I remembered her from Brokeback. She's so great, though.
She's so great.
Unfailingly supportive. And maybe it's not her place to speak out, because I don't think Ennis was really above, like, giving her one in the jaw or something, like if he was in a corner, but he was just so pent up. I felt really bad for her, which is why I said that people really got hurt because of their inability to get a handle on this thing. Not that they should have handled
like
it
her.
Or abolished it altogether. It was just all around kind of an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, it was. And, Ennis has at least the perspective to know that it isn't Alma's fault. Jack Twist probably could care less about how Lorene feels about it, much less what her parents feel about him or their relationship. I didn't put it together until this viewing that Alma's new husband was her boss at the Five and Dime.
Oh, Monroe. Did you have a soft spot for Monroe? Because his affection was completely obvious in the Crash peanut party scene.
He does go very easy on her, and probably because he already has developed an affection for her. Perhaps she sees an opportunity to level up to the shopkeeper's wife, but he's also, he's got to deal with a broken or heavily traumatized wife.
It was a little bit like, what was the guy's name? Tim or whatever, the cowboy that Linda Cardellini's with later. Yeah, he's nice. He even talks. And it's like, oh, you can't help but feel like, girls don't fall in love with fun. And I was like, maybe she's settling. And Monroe, as much as I'm sure his affection for Alma was pure and he never would have stepped in the middle of their marriage, but when he finds an opportunity, he's going to take it. Even still, that dude never so much as left the chair when he could hear his wife in obvious distress. And then her temperamental husband storms out of the thing. She's like, I'll call Monroe. And she's like crying and stuff. Never so much as leaves the chair.
Well, he would, he's not exactly, Monroe's not a cowboy. He's a city guy and probably knows better than to step up to to Ennis. Anyone who crosses Ennis's path when he's on a streak is sorry that they did. So maybe we're just not giving Monroe enough credit for being smarter than he looks.
Okay, well, he got the girl. Okay, we're running out of time, so we're going to do rapid fire questions in this interview style discussion. Ready?
Okay.
Did Aguirre bring them down early and cut them a whole month's pay because they were stemming the rose?
No, he was just a old buzzard who saw the opportunity to save some money.
Did you get whiplash from the acceleration through time? Literally, Anne Hathaway met Jack Twist. They made out in the car, and then they had a baby.
We're covering a lot of ground in 2 hours and 14 minutes. We got to move this story along.
Yeah. Was Jack wrong for rolling up all strong in his truck? Like, I heard the divorce came through, and here I am.
I mean, yeah, but can you blame him?
He's been waiting 20 years, dude. What I noticed in this screening that I never really caught before was I was entranced by the eyes and the gentle manner of Mrs. Twist, Jack's mom.
Aww.
Wasn't she the sweetest, shacked up with her own old buzzard and just like totally disregarding him? And like, we kept his room the same, like hand on his shoulder and cherry cake and acknowledging the clothes that he kind of just looked at her in the face and was like, I'm taking these. And she's like, let me get you a paper bag. Even though the dad had obviously no interest in ever seeing Ennis Del Mar's face again, she was like, you'll come back and see us, won't you? And I was like, oh no. It seemed like he kept saying, I'm going to go help my dad out at my dad's place. My dad. And Ennis is unaware that Jack the whole time was telling his family, when Ennis comes up here with me, we're going to whip this farm into shape. But man, the mom was keyed in.
Well, they're all keyed in. They just have different ways of not saying anything. Of course, old man Twist was keyed in, and that's why he hated Ennis, and that's why he hated his son, and why he wanted to drive that final knife jab home to Ennis to say, it was Ennis Del Mar, until it wasn't. Until it was, I got another guy. He's going to leave his wife. We're going to come whip this ranch into shape. Like he wants to deliver the death blow to Ennis because of all of the pent up rage that he has.
And that was the ranch hand neighbor. Some other fella neighbor. That was Hopper, right?
That was full on David Harbour. And I never got that either. I never got what David Harbour was saying when they were sitting outside the dance hall or whatever, talking about powdering noses and stuff. Like that was the beginning of their relationship.
Yeah, I did not make the connection that he was the same guy that he had talked about. I just thought it was like a different rando guy.
We talk endlessly about how repressed the Ennis Del Mar character is. But there are also these moments of just like pure state. Like when he comes out and sees Jack Twist after 4 years and he comes running down the stairs and they embrace, he's like pure emotion in that moment. He's smiling, they're hugging. He gives that furtive look to like the street and then drags him back behind the laundry or whatever. I mean, that's more than he's probably hugged in a year. He has these incredible bursts of emotion that I guess contrast with his normally very repressed character.
Jake Gyllenhaal did say that Heath Ledger nearly broke his nose with that smooch.
Really?
Yep. So invested was he. But it was also great that Jack brought that up. He talks, and we're listening, kind of getting, in just a few words, getting keyed into his life and his upbringing. And then Jack, who's spent all summer with him, was like, that's the most you spoke in 2 weeks or a month or whatever.
Friend, that's the most you said in 2 weeks. It's the most I said in a year.
Those words I said in a year. Are you going to do IMDb user reviews?
Well, I think it's curious because all I see are 10 stars, a human love story, a state of mind, a jewel of a film. This movie breaks my heart. But then the overall is 7.7. So why?
Because they're haters, and the haters are going to 1-star review it no matter what.
Okay.
My favorite of the this guy said on the internet, nobody is braver than the men who lay down their lives for their country, period. And Aaron Day says, except for Jake Gyllenhaal, who bottomed with no lube and an ass full of beans in Brokeback Mountain.
You can't put that in the
You
podcast.
laughed. It's not my fault that you laughed.
Can't. You cannot. You're right that the 1-star reviewers are skewing the average. And there are some real haters out there. 1 star, I could make a more compelling love story about alley cats. 1 star, BROKEBACK Mountain.
God.
1 star, is praise for this film just a result of political correctness?
See, yeah. But they're dancing pretty close to the fire. A gay movie is not a big deal. But a gay cowboy movie is hitting conservatives where it hurts. And I think that they felt they needed to speak out and have a reaction.
An ass full of beans.
I'm leaving it. If it's still in, that's because I sent it to you in the edit and you didn't edit it out. And that is our discussion on one of Iris's favorite films from 2005.
Over so soon?
Ang Lee's Brokeback Mountain. We can cover more. We can do a bonus XL episode in interview style proper.
It's just such a good movie. Ang Lee was unrelenting in creating beauty, whether it was from the landscape or from the dynamic between these characters, even if that beauty was sometimes wild and tragic and untamed or forbidden.
No, what was it? A goddamn bitch of an unsatisfactory situation. 5-star us. Don't be a hater at orwhatevermovies.com or on Instagram or whatever. orwhatevermovies@gmail.com. 818-835-0473.
And thanks for listening. I just don't want it to be over, Wes.
Okay, watch it again.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Breaking news for your home. Wayday. Wayfair's big sale is almost here, and you can score the best deals in home. Like up to 80% off everything home. Yes, you heard that right. 80% off with free shipping on everything. Plus surprise flash deals all Wayday long. We're talking outdoor furniture and essentials, rugs, and more. All at Wayfair. And all up to 80% off during Wayday. Shop Wayfair's Wayday from April 25th through 27th.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Electricast.